Aconex Connected Cost is a fully integrated module of the Aconex core platform. As you're all familiar with all the modules on the top there, you can now see that there is a separate module for cost. If you click on that, it's broken down into 4 components. Cost management, which is where all the data entry analysis is done. The activity stream is like your cost event log audit trail. Reports is where the reporting engine is, and you can run all your customized or standard reports there. And administration is where all the settings are made at an organization or a project level. So let's firstly jump into the reports. So Aconex Cost has a very powerful configurable reporting engine, and you can report, and it comes with a number of predefined reports around different data sets, and you can also create your own reports based on your specific preferences. Now, Aconex Cost allows you to report at the detailed project level, or if you're running a portfolio of projects, at the organization level. So let's firstly jump into the organizational reports, and if I go to cost worksheet and portfolio cost comparison, we can see that I have 2 projects where I'm running Aconex Cost, and it gives me a very high level single line item per project view of the current cost situation here. Now, I don't necessarily want to seal that information, so if I go to display and scroll down, I can actually enable and disable columns as I see fit. And I can also move columns around and then just update the preview. So as you can see, very flexible, highly configurable, and a lot of data that you're able to incorporate into your reports. And every report can be saved into a standard format if you need to use it for an external document such as a monthly progress report. And you can save your reports for your own personal use or for your organization's use. So if I open this pane again, and let's drop down into the project, and you can see there's a number of detailed reports here for various aspects of the projects. So for example, let's take a look at variations. Variations are changes made to agreed contracts. And if I take a look here, I can see I've got 5 variations with a total of 305,000. Some of them have been approved, some of them are pending, and so on. So what I want to do here is, I don't necessarily want to see all the variations. I'm only interested in those, the variation status, that are not approved. So those ones that have not been approved and are not a commitment as yet. If I run that, update the report, and I can see that's now come to 2. Now, it's grouped into the different phases, the construction, office building, design, engineering, but I don't want to see it that way. I want to see it by contractor. So if I go to the grouping and change that round to downstream organization, I can reconfigure the report and view it in a different way. So we can see now that I can see that those 2 variations which are pending belong to that organization. And again, I can switch on and off any of that data as I see fit. So the reporting engine is very powerful, highly configurable, and giving you the information in real time. But where does it all come from? So if we open the pane, navigation pane, and we jump into cost management. Cost management is the heart of Aconex Connected Cost. It's where all the information resides, where all the updates and data entry is done, and it's where the users will be spending most of their time in connected cost. So we can see here by default it takes me to the cost worksheet. Now the cost worksheet is a representation of the logical breakdown or the work breakdown structure of your project into different phases, sub-phases and sub-packages. This information can be manually entered, but more commonly the information is imported either from a schedule, P6 or Microsoft Project, or it can be imported from a Microsoft Excel CSV format file, and we provide import templates to that effect. So we can see here there is a lot of detail, the budgets, budget changes, any actuals, payments made, and then the final forecast costs. And if I want to, I can enable and disable any columns that I see fit. It looks like it looks and operates very much like a Excel spreadsheet, so it'd be very familiar for many users, but it's a lot smarter, and there's a lot of connection and smart calculations behind it. If I need to, I can move columns around, and if I want to, I can save views based on different criteria. So if I want to just look at the contracts, it will change the view and will show me the information there. So if we look down, and we can see, if we click on one item, so in this case the concrete foundation, we can see that the one line item has that budget and that contract and those variations, but in the pane underneath you can see that there is a more detailed breakdown, which is the control element. So that's a more specific breakdown of that one WBS item. So you have the concrete and the rebar, which gives you the total. So now I can view that from a cost perspective and the subcontractor labor. I can view that from an hours or from a quantity perspective. It really depends on the level of detail of the information going into the system. So we've created our work breakdown structure. We've built in our original baseline budgets. So from there on in, any updates in contracts, changes or payments are then automatically connected and synced in to the cost worksheet. So if I jump down into contracts, we can see here that I have a contracts register. Depending on my role, it will either be upstream if I have a contract with an owner, or downstream if I have contracts with suppliers and subcontractors. And for each organization, for each contract, we can see there's a number of sub items or contract items as I click on, which all roll up to the single line item figures that is shown there. We can also see that we've got listed the organizations we're contracted with, the contract itself, and if it's a shared contract. So if it's a shared contract, that means that the downstream organization's view will see that contractual information. You can choose to share with other organizations, or you can choose to run your contract internally without sharing it to a third party. So if I take a look at this contract here, the pump house, all my contract items and my build-up is done there, but I can see also what variations are made against that contract. So a variation is a change in scope or a change in requirements or a change in details, which means that there's an additional cost to the contract. So if I click on variation additional rebar, I can then, it takes me to the variations area and shows me all the variations that are happening, 4 approved, 1 proceed and 1 pending, and the requested amount and the variation amount. Similarly, you can also customize your view here. And in the bottom, you can see the details of the variation that build up for that one line item variation. Come back to the contract. And then you can also see if there's been any progress claims made against that contract. So a progress claim or an actual is a claim from a contractor for work completed or work done, and they're usually made on a periodical basis, such as monthly, or a milestone basis, such as completing a defined scope of works. So all of this information, as the contracts are set up, we can see that the contract can be linked to the cost worksheet by the control account. So you create a default control account which links it to all the WBS activities, and you choose one, and then each individual contract item can also individually be linked to separate WBS items. Change is a constant occurrence in construction, and it's a very important aspect of cost management which many organizations and projects struggle with today. Change can come from an owner's side, so it could be a change in budget or a change in requirements, or change can be from a contractor, such as extensions of time or increased scope of works or unforeseen ground conditions and so on. A change event can be created very early in the process, so you might have a site inspection, a non-conformance, or an RFI which has a potential cost impact. So you can create a change event very early, and then that will be reflected as a potential cost or budget impact prior to it being approved and committed from the owner or the contractor. Now, for change events, you can create, let's come back. Change events can have sub-items, and also you can link your change events to the Aconex core platform. So this is where you have the power of Aconex Connected to Cost comes in by being able to link to mail or be able to link to documents. So if I come to this change event here, we can see that this change event, which has been approved for 45,000, was based on an RFI, an original RFI. So that RFI was identified, and it was identified as having a cost impact. So I was able to then connect the process with the actual cost change. And as it went through the approval process and I was able to update the status, it would move from a potential cost impact to an actual cost impact. The activity stream gives you the ability to pinpoint and identify all the changes and updates and approvals that are happening throughout the course of your project. If you can imagine, you've got 10 cost engineers working on different aspects of the project daily, making changes, approving, rejecting. It's quite difficult to keep up with that. So the activity stream is like an event log, and it gives you the ability to search by date range, by user group, or organizational breakdown structure, where you have your different disciplines and groups and departments, or you can select by activity itself. So if you just want to see what's been happening on progress claims, you can click progress claims and it will tell you all the activity that's been happening. So in summary, Aconex Connected Cost is a fully integrated, feature-rich, cloud-based cost and contract management solution, which can be used at an individual project level or can be used at a portfolio multiple project view. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.